Hey guys, sorry for the wait on this one. This movie is considered one of, if not the best Resident Evil movies ever made, and I had to make sure to watch it in 4K to give it the respect it deserves. I mean, it's the one with the best action, the best explosions, and the best Leon killing innocent people sequence of any of the animated Resident Evil movies. Why I'm talking about Resident Evil Vendetta, of course, and now that I've rewatched it in glorious 4K, there's only one thing left to do. Now, normally this is the part where I warn you about, but this time I'm not going to bother, really. Just like every other animated RE movie, this one is about revenge. It even says so in the title. Degeneration and Damnation each had sympathetic characters who are willing to sacrifice everything to avenge the death of their loved ones, and the same is true of Vendetta's main villain, Arius, who had his wife and friends blown up by a drone strike, much like the two sad boys from the previous entries.
Thanks, Obama!
Now he's blood red mad about it and decides he's going to get revenge on the world by spreading fear or something. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. He's also going to force Rebecca to marry him because the director wanted Rebecca to be in a lacy outfit. I mean, because she looks like Arius's dead wife. And that makes more sense than what I had just said earlier. Despite the simple setup to his character, his evil plan is still the most convoluted shit ever.
The trigger virus is probably distributed through the air.
If the trigger is airborne, it's harder to control where it goes or who gets it. He vaccinates anyone he doesn't want infected first.
So then Arius has to be using some type of vaccine.
You mixed the base virus in drinking water.
I'm impressed. How did you figure it out?
He can also fight real good, just like the bee lady from the previous movie for some reason. Well, I mean, I can guess the reason. But in the story, there's no real explanation for it. I mean, at least Damnation made an attempt at a backstory for Bee Lady to explain her combat prowess. Vendetta easily has the worst writing of the animated films.
Hey, I just realized DC and Damien aren't talking about Breaking Bad for once.
Hey, don't go there, Chris.
Yo, that shit's ahead of its time.
It's a goddamn masterpiece.
You're goddamn right.
It has a lot of the same problems those previous movies had, but this time around it's like they're being very upfront about it. Almost like they're not really trying all that hard. As you watch Vendetta, it becomes pretty clear what their priorities were when making it. Let's look at them, shall we? Number 1, horror scene. It can't be Resident Evil without horror, so let's make sure to get that shit out of the way as fast as possible. To help give their movie some horror cred though, they brought on the creator of the Ju-On Grudge movie franchise, Takashi Shimizu, to help out with the opening sequence. It is my opinion that this entire scene could just be cut from the movie. Now maybe you could keep parts of it for a flashback when Chris and Rebecca meet up, but this scene is messy. It's all to set up Chris's revenge arc because, as usual, his entire team dies, like that wasn't obvious already.
You got friends?
Sure, I got friends.
Family?
Yeah, got a wife, my folks, a little sister.
After we're given a true horror opening, Chris just happens to visit Rebecca the second she's attacked by the same villains from the intro that we just watched. This is a huge coincidence that could have easily been explained with 1 or 2 lines about them tracking Arius or something, or maybe he calls Rebecca ahead of time like a normal person would do, and you could have the power go out or something, and then that gets Chris eager to get there faster, and it could have stakes or something. But this movie doesn't even bother with any of that. And if the movie isn't going to care about the story too much, then why should we? Either way, the intro is bloated and loud, and it actually has more action than horror, so that kind of defeats the purpose, right? And to me, what horror it did have felt very rushed and hacky and tacked on. And then the references to the RE1 mansion and even the laser scene from the terrible live action movies help cement this as just cheap pandering for me. Like, they were literally told by the execs at Capcom to include some element of horror, and this was them checking it off a list. Number 2. The worst part of this movie was the treatment of Rebecca. Now, I'll be honest, I never really cared much for her as a character, but I can't stand the way that she's portrayed in this movie. She's only really clearly there to satiate the need for boobies and other pervy stuff, and I'm just not for it. This is literally the reason series creator Shinji Mikami dislikes Rebecca so much, and I tend to agree. Her opening scene where she defends herself against an outbreak is probably the best stuff in the movie, though even that is dripping with more fetish stuff.
やけに色っぽいです。
やけに色っぽいですよね。いや、
その後で机から顔出すんですよ。
そうです。
ハムスターみたいで可愛いんですよ。
そうです。いろんなフェチが、あらゆる層のフェチがこうあそこに入ってる。
唯一のね、こう
フェチだけ
見られる
あれなんですよ。
ヒロインですから。
Literally every time she's on the screen, it's an excuse for some kind of fetish. Wet hair, lacy outfits, whatever the fuck this is. Anyway, by the end of the movie, Rebecca is completely reduced to play damsel when she's captured by Arius, and Chris and Leon battle Monster Man on a rooftop to save her. Poggers. Number 3, epic heroes. Speaking of Leon and Chris, their characters aren't much better, to be honest. Neither one of them really grow or develop throughout the movie. Chris is bland and pretty straightforward as usual. We see his team die in the intro, and I guess we're supposed to care? I mean, who are these people? Does Chris even know anymore? So many of his teammates have died at this point, you'd think he'd just start working solo by now. We're supposed to see him as the foil to Arius, but man is it weak. Both seeking revenge for their own reasons, and both learning nothing by the end of the movie. Woo! Leon is here again, but this time he's more of a side character. He's just borrowing Chris's setup from RE6 because they didn't know what else to do. Leon is drinking because of all the zombie fighting, and so his remedy for that is, of course, to kill more zombies, but like John Wick this time. He also kills those innocent people on the highway and feels no remorse. What a hero! In fact, all of this movie's good guys end up doing way more damage than any of the villains, to be honest. Oh boy, it's number 4, it's the action. That's what we're here for, everyone, strap in. How can I describe the action scenes in Vendetta? Well, it's like the director saw John Wick and decided to stop thinking about it any further. I think you're meant to laugh and just have fun with it. I'm not sure, really. Maybe this is cool to some people. I don't know. To me, it's goofy, and it makes them more superhero-like than ever before, and it's pretty strange that they doubled down on the action stuff so much, especially after all the negative feedback from RE6. And they said that there were a lot of cuts to the script, which made me think that maybe there exists a version where the characters are more developed by the end, or maybe there were some more suspenseful scenes originally. But it turns out all of the stuff they cut was just more action set pieces, like a fight between this lady and Leon. From listening to the commentary and watching the making of stuff, it felt like a lot of the big decisions were made by people who had little to no respect for the franchise or its characters. They were pretty excited about that Ducati sponsorship though. So, do I recommend Resident Evil Vendetta? If you've seen the previous CG movies, you might know what to expect with Vendetta, but then it goes and lowers the bar even further. I have trouble calling any of the characters in this movie characters. The villains are all paper thin and very forgettable, even for Resident Evil standards, and Leon and Rebecca are only around as fan service for the most part, and Chris, who is supposed to be the main character, is probably the least interesting one in the whole movie. The film's one saving grace is that it has some so bad it's good energy going on. There are plenty of plot holes and mindless action sequences to laugh at, but there's not enough to really qualify it as a good bad movie for me. Some of the action stuff isn't really that funny, and it's just kind of boring and lame. Now, coming up, there's a new Resident Evil movie that will probably get its trailer shown off at TGS later this month. Now, I'm not expecting it to be any good, considering who's directing it. Plus, now that we've gotten a sneak peek at some of the characters, it seems like they put more attention to detail into that RE2 Semi than they did the character designs. But that doesn't come out until November, so I guess I'll be making some videos about some other stuff in the meantime. If you enjoyed the video and are interested in the horror genre, then please like and subscribe. You probably won't even regret it. And as always, thank you for watching. That's it for now. Bye.